Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Emerge and Empower with your host, Dr. Lynn J. And it's indeed a pleasure to have you on the set on today. We journey each week as we have individuals come on to share their past traumas and experiences. Today is no different as we have our guest that will be coming on that will be sharing her story. Go ahead, grab your seat, get in your front row seat. Let your friends know that we are connected on Emerge and Empower today as we journey through yet another story of resilience and transformation. Courtney Cote is a certified conscious parenting and life coach, a dedicated yogi, and initiated alchemist on a powerful mission to help women break free from what's holding them back and step fully into their highest potential. As a visionary, author of Amazon bestseller, and founder of I Love Me Unconditionally, Courtney blends cutting edge science, soulful wisdom, and transformative coaching to guide women through deep healing and self love and radical empowerment. With her unique blend of conscious parenting, expertise, mindful movement, and alchemist transformation, Courtney creates safe, sacred spaces where overwhelmed and stuck women can release guilt, shame, and limiting beliefs and emerge with clarity, confidence, and unstoppable joy. Her approach honors full human experience, helping women rediscover their inner light and live a life overflowing with love, abundance, and connection. Whether through one on one coaching, powerful online courses, or immersive retreats, Courtney is committed to awakening the divine feminine within every woman she serves. Her life's work is vibrant, called to embody unconditional self love and create ripple effects of healing across families and communities. Let us welcome Courtney on the set on today. Welcome, Courtney, to Emerge and Empower with our audience. Let's try this one more time. Hey, everyone, let's welcome Courtney. Courtney, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience on today.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. This is Courtney Cote. So nice to see you. I appreciate your kind words and your time letting me share my story and journey with you.
Yes, introduce yourself to our audience if you wish to share a little bit more before we get right into your story.
Sure, thank you. Yes, I am Courtney Cote, the founder and CEO of I Love Me Unconditionally.com. I am so excited to be part of a massive movement of absolute self-love, self-worth. And I Love Me Unconditionally was very intentional. It's very long, but nobody says that. And so there's, again, a lot of intention in there. So very excited to be here.
Thank you so much. And everyone, once again, like I said before, this is yet another empowerment and healing moment for each and every one of you as you connect around the world, locally and internationally. Courtney, we're going to dive right into your story. Take us to the beginning of who Courtney is and what was that trauma that you experienced.
Yeah, I like to say, I don't think there's a lot of big T's, but I have a lot of little T's. So big trauma versus little traumas. My first, I would say, really big trauma was 5. I just witnessed family member, very altered and not really present. And I just was very unsafe. I felt, oh my gosh, I can't trust, the people that are in my life, my caretakers. And that was an interesting, impactful moment for me to put on all of my armor, if you will. And
Yes.
so, secondly, I think another big T, little T was my father was inpatient suicidal for 31 days when I was 8 years old. And so, off and on suicidal ideation my entire life. And again, that's what led us to my company name, I Love Me Unconditionally, and the website that it is today.
Wow, wow. So, can you take us to that experience as a 5-year-old little girl, and what was going through your mind, or what was your understanding?
Yeah, I had a play date. We played a little bit too late, probably 4 or 5 years old again, and we're like, where are our moms? It's midnight. Like we should be in bed by now. And head downstairs, and they're kind of passed out and sleeping, and we're like, hey, gotta go to bed. And that's kind of at the time where my whole body, I think, knew before really truly witnessing what had happened. The energy was already there.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I had a pretty visceral reaction of just probably utterly shutting down, going into fight or flight. And yeah, I think in that time, in that moment, I just said to myself, I'm going to take care of me. I can't trust anyone else. And I'm going to put on my, my big girl boots, and we're going to life up.
Wow. Even today, when we think about it, even though children are more advanced and understanding, at 5 years old, or any child basically in adolescent stages, should not have to experience any such. The job of the parent, of course, is to take care and nurture the child. But here you are, 5 years old,
Mm,
having to think this way.
yeah.
And so the journey continues from 5, you said. So take us through.
Yeah, fascinating, right? So then, I mean, if we want to just quickly fast forward to my marriage, uh, my former marriage, that was an interesting event, also kind of a very similar situation. Before I had done all the trauma work and before I was really awakened and conscious to the chain analysis and where it all comes from. So, very similar situation. Um, that individual comes, let's say, back late at night and a little bit altered or a lot altered. And I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant with my first. And that was pretty, again, impactful in terms of my body just kind of shutting down and remembering like where I was at that maybe time at 5 years old, right? But at the time of that happening with the husband at the time, it wasn't there's no affiliation or correlation. I just said to myself, wow, this is the father of my children. Like, how could this be? And again, scared, can't trust this man. This is not okay. Now what am I going to do? Right. My children, are they really going to grow up in this type of an environment? And so I went into, of course, masculine mode during the marriage. My feminine and beautiful flowing femininity was not there because I was a daughter of a Marine and I learned how to protect myself at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
So already learned that behavior from trauma and conditioned. And
Right.
so then in the marriage, when it happened again, my body just was like, whoa. And so I shut down and I went into fight or flight and did everything myself. And you can imagine that dynamic did not really work.
Mm-hmm.
And, you need polarity. You need both masculine and femininity for
Yeah.
both,
Need a
for
balance.
both, for both. Yeah. Like not just male, female, but I need to be masculine and feminine. And
Yes.
so he also needs to be masculine and feminine. And we need that polarity yin and yang.
Yeah.
And so when that dynamic wasn't there, then yeah, there was some challenges. So, but I did some journeying and found where it all came from. And then I was beautifully enlightened. And, you know, COVID hit. My dad ended up coming to live with us. He passed away, unfortunately, suddenly due to pancreatic cancer. So that was really unfortunate.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Yeah, but it was a beautiful learning opportunity during that time. So there was some silver lining in there of my father living with us during COVID for some time. So.
Okay. So you speak about releasing the guilt and shame. Can you take us back to a time where those emotions were shaping your life the most?
Yeah, geez. Guilt and shame is something, again, I think we're conditioned with. I think that when we live in an unconditional love world, we forgive ourselves, right? We have grace for ourselves. We make mistakes. We're not perfect. And so then we can give that grace and space to others. But when we're conditioned, or a daughter of a Marine with tough love, or grow up in an environment of, you know, you need to achieve to earn my love, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just inherit that. And oh, by the way, that probably came down also from 13 generations before me.
Right.
So it's already more or less in my DNA. I think the biggest guilt and shame that I have experienced has been before I was awakened and enlightened, was just doing something for myself
Mm-hmm.
as a mom, like not being the martyr and putting everyone else first.
Right.
So I felt so guilty taking a bath. I felt so guilty going and doing something for me, going to yoga, going for a walk. I mean, that when I think back in hindsight, that was just, I mean, we need to do us first, because
Right.
otherwise we're not good for ourselves. We're not good for anybody else.
Right.
Right? We have to put on our own oxygen mask first before we give it to anybody else. But the guilt
Right.
and the shame that I felt through that, it was, I don't know if someone gave me permission, like, hey, Court, you really got to take care of you first before you, take care of
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. Otherwise, you're not going to give everyone the best version of you. And you're doing everybody a disservice, because
Right.
you are so beautifully like loving and soft. But when I don't take care of me first, I'm like a bull in a china shop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's very needed. I give every woman and every man, every single human being on this planet permission to go do you first, right? Go do you, boo. Go do you first. And
Right.
then let's beautifully be there for everybody else. But that's not being selfish. That's actually being responsible as
Right.
like true, loving, divine human beings.
What people need to realize is you must be healed in order to want to do things for yourself. Many times it's masked and it's hidden behind taking care of a loved one, taking care of a child, family, and before you know it, you really don't even know who you are. And so you've lost touch of that, or you had childhood traumas that you didn't deal with, and all of a sudden it's bam in your face, and you're like, wait a minute, who is this person? All right. So, in order to do you, right, you have to deal with the things about you. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and deal with all those areas in order to enjoy yourself. Because I can say the truth, and I say this all the time. If you saw you in the room, would you want to be your friend? You see? And so it starts with healing. And I love the fact that you're self conscious. And yes, as a mom, you feel guilty because you want to do something. You feel guilty because I just want to eat this. Like, can I just enjoy this by myself without feeling guilty? Or can I just go to the movies and don't have to bring anybody with me? Can I just have a bubble bath without somebody walking in? Because you need to have that be time. As mothers, you have no privacy. People are in your bathroom when you're in the bathroom. Everything you're doing, someone is always there, especially as the kids are old. My kids are older and they still tap. Mom, can I come in? No.
Yeah, no, it's a
So,
beautiful boundary. And that's what
yes,
I didn't know that was a boundary.
yes,
So
yes. Yeah.
absolutely agree, completely.
So, what did letting go look like for you in real time? Was it a moment or a process or both?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like there's so many different kind of snowball effect. So I can remember one letting go time where I just surrendered and I said, I don't know what I can do for my father at this point in time. I was committed to moving out to San Diego, California for a new job from New Hampshire, north of Boston. He had just gone inpatient again in Brockton Hospital. And I just was like helpless, but I had to just let go and surrender and do me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so proud, but I also talk about guilt and shame. Like, should I be staying with my father and taking care of him, or should I be going out and doing my own life? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big one, but I surrendered. I let go of and accepted the process, and I just like put faith over fear and moved out to San Diego, and he got better. And that was a tough one. That was definitely a tough one, but I think it's just trusting, letting go, and letting God,
Right.
having that hashtag Godfidence. And yeah, that was one of them. There was another one I can recall when I went on our yoga retreat in Costa Rica. And I remember them talking about surfing. We were surfing, and you can either, when you get knocked off the board and you're underwater, and you can either like resist.
One moment, I'm getting some feedback from your mic.
How about now? Better?
Yeah, better.
So in Costa Rica.
Yeah, it's still doing it. It's like a crackling sound.
Yeah, I can hear that too. I think I was hearing that on your end before as well. Let me see. Try this again. I'm hearing it before I even start talking.
Right.
Do you think it's mine? Yeah?
Yeah, uh-huh.
I don't know. I hear it. Why is it doing that now, I wonder? We were so good and clean before.
I know.
Oh no, I hear it though. I did a mic, mute mic, and then that's it. But maybe it'll just go away. We've had crazy tornadoes in Kentucky. Maybe that's why.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know how it's going to sound, because sometimes you have certain noise and background noise, and then it goes away. All right. So you moved away. You were talking about moving.
Yeah, it wasn't doing this before, huh? But now all of a sudden it started.
Yeah. Let's see. My device. Let me mute myself and you talk and see if that's what that is.
Yeah, I don't hear it at all. It's like crystal clear now. So let's see. So I'll just start. Sorry, repeat that.
You said that you had moved away?
Correct. That was the first time that I went, like I actually experienced letting go, and it worked out. I mean, I surrendered, I trusted the process. I was faith over fear. And that was a big one with my father, just kind of like from a situational moment. And then secondly, I can recall a really cool where I felt the letting go, and I felt like I experienced the letting go firsthand. And someone had said when we were in Costa Rica for a yoga surf retreat and we were surfing, that when you're, thrown off the board and you tumble and you're underwater and you're going, like, literally, some people resist and they try to come up to the surface and they're resisting the water. They're not going with the flow. Literally, they said, just let go with the flow, go with the water, right? Cover your head so your board doesn't hit your head, but you're just going with the flow. And there was something so magical about going with the water and the current and where it was going underwater, and just literally letting go of control. And
Mhm.
then when it's over and that wave crashes, and then it just beautifully softens,
Right.
that's when you come for air. And so you're just going with the flow, and you're just letting go in it, like actually in it. So
Yes.
that was a really cool process. Kind of twofold. Yeah, there was like one that I almost powerfully empowered to let go, but then there was another where I experienced truly letting go and the embodiment and the feeling of what that actually felt like, which was pretty cool.
That's really wonderful. So we're going to go to your healing journey on how you said you created I Love Me Unconditionally. And what is that message, that urgency that make you feel like, I have to love me unconditionally? What was that for you?
So during COVID, my father and I, like I said, we had some beautiful conversations, and there was a silver lining with his condition, all the suicidal ideation. And I was there for him. We had long conversations. We had the time. It was, COVID, and we were all hunkered in, and we didn't have anywhere to go. So it was honestly, truly such a beautiful opportunity. So with that, we had like peeled back the onion of my father's, like the root cause. And long story short, we realized that, and I realized indirectly, he taught me that he never had true love, like unconditional love or forgiveness for himself. Like he
Wow.
would have unconditional love for me because I'm his daughter, but
Right.
he never truly had unconditional love or forgiveness for himself, because there were events, and he had so much guilt and shame. And I was like, Dad, you would, work for Easter seals and special needs, and like you wouldn't hurt a fly. And he was so sweet to all the kids and the, strangers in the grocery line. I mean, this man was so beautiful, a divine soul. And if someone truly
Hmm.
loved themselves unconditionally and forgave themselves, there's no
Right.
way they would ever hurt themselves, consider hurting themselves. And so because
Right.
his parents, military, they never said, I love you or I'm proud of you. He learned external validation. He learned
Yeah.
more or less ego and getting it from other people and other
Other people.
sources. So when you stop, and when that just abruptly, acutely, or chronically just stops, and you stop getting external
Mhm.
validation from people, that's a legit depression. And he
Indeed.
didn't have his own values, or didn't have his own identity of living in unconditional love and forgiveness. And so
Yeah.
that to me is the $1,000,000 ticket and the yeast to the bread of happiness of life, truly.
Yes. Yes. Indeed. Indeed. I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of people, if you try to explain what you deal with at home versus when they're out in public, the love, oh, they're so loving, they're this, but then they don't have that same love for themselves. And the key here is that validation. What I realized with COVID is people needed to have, that community, people to interact with. When that was no longer there, people now had to think more about themselves. They have more time to see themselves. And a lot of people got really, really depressed. A lot of people actually, even though we wouldn't like it or not, but we had a lot of suicides that happened during
Yeah.
that time, because people no longer had, that loved one or that community or that place to go to feel like they belong. All right.
Mhm.
And they cause a lot of depression, loneliness. You could be in a relationship and you're lonely, let alone you're in isolation from the norm, like walking to the park and going to different places, and you're stuck in one place. And that indeed is a journey in itself. So for him, it was the self love and all of that. But did he have PTSD from being in the army as well? That also was a result of it.
I would assume, yeah, I would presume he had a little maybe chronic PTSD, like
Okay.
complex PTSD from childhood. But then you go,
Hmm.
you're in boot camp and you're a Marine, and you have this
Right.
hardcore tough love, right? Like there was no front lines, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, the trauma of anything like that is
Right.
something. So as
Yes.
much as it's not like storming the beach of Normandy, it's still it's relevant to
Right.
folks. But I feel that again, from childhood, maybe even in the womb, there was beautiful, unfortunate, divine karmic journeying of
Mm-hmm.
generational trauma that was
Right.
passed through.
On. It
And,
does pass on.
absolutely. So, yep.
It does indeed. And so, as a conscious parenting coach and alchemist, let's talk about that. How do you help women reconnect their voice?
Oh my gosh, there's so many ways, but I think gratitude, like first and foremost, is so crucial. Gratitude is it's healing in itself. So we could make a gratitude list, but we could also feel the gratitude. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we could put our hand over our heart and we could just think about all the things that I'm so grateful right now and the embodiment of that. And when
Mm-hmm.
we actually get into that beautiful heart space,
Right.
right? And that heartware, it's like a heart, it's like not a hardware upgrade, it's a heartware
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yes.
There's something magical about this space where it brings us from our head, logical, all cool IQ, but like down
Mm-hmm.
here, when they say, hey, like, what does your heart say? Or what is what are you feeling? It's like, I don't know until I did know. And it
Right.
was gratitude. And I actually finally felt the gratitude. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we can come from this space right here, I feel like unlocks so much.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It unlocks so much. So we could talk about tactics, we could talk about strategy, but like that right there, the divine, higher power, light, whatever you want to call it, this beautiful gratitude right here, we are born for more. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to stay stuck because I'm doing a disservice to everybody around me if I stay stuck. So
Right. For me, that gratitude and that higher power is God, because I realize I had no one else. So God is that divine, the creator, the designer of all things. And
mm,
so therefore he always wants us to have that oneness, even when you go through the Bible and you read scripture and text where it always talks about us renewing our minds, renewing our hearts. And these are things that we should use practically in our everyday. But unfortunately, we don't. You understand? And then we just veer away so far away that we just become all disconnected. So a woman that has come to you that has been dealing with past traumas and different things like that, before she can be grateful, I'm sure you had to peel certain layers in order for her to be grateful. So what would it be like for you, for meeting someone who never saw that they had any worth in their life, didn't see any value to themselves? And how was that journey? How do you tackle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had to find that with my father, and I could have given my dad a bazillion solutions, and none of them were anything, didn't mean anything. The solution ended up being validation. So we first start out with beautiful empathy.
Hmm.
Wow, I can't imagine how that feels for you. That must be really dark and shitty,
Hmm.
Dad. Let me hold your hand and
So
let me
you
just,
going through this with your father, you're walking him through his own personal journey. Wow.
sit here and hold your hand. Let me just sit in the shit with you. Like, excuse my French, right? But with that pain that someone feels heard and they feel, oh my gosh, they get it, right? They can understand. That too unlocks the next step. So instead of let's just go and like, what do you want? Let's go get it. It's wait, no, let's validate this because that's not that's not okay. I don't approve, right? We can forgive, but we don't have to approve of it. We can
Right.
forgive as we don't have to choose to suffer any longer. We can choose to liberate and be free.
That's the key there. Suffering. Choose not to suffer.
Correct. But someone needs permission, right? They need to
Yes.
see that this is not your future, even though you got this cards, this deck, this hand and a card deck, and we're playing a game. You
Mm-hmm.
can cash those 7 cards in and you can take 7 more.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We have choices in this life. It's a
Right.
beautiful, funny, human bound experience with the ether up there and spirits and energy. I mean, I agree. Law of oneness is absolutely magical. So,
Mm-hmm.
the first and foremost is validation. You validate, validate, validate. You know, you sit there and you hold the space in the container so they're finally heard, they're finally seen, right? And they're validated and someone understands and someone gets it. And even if we don't understand all of it, it's the empathy piece. And when someone feels seen and heard, right, that's the next piece of the puzzle. Because my father would always come out of it when he felt like he was finally seen and heard and he just wanted someone to feel his pain. I
Right.
mean, that was it, unfortunately, for my father, you know? And it was connection. That was his way of connecting.
That
And
was his one.
some people, it's connection. All we want is deep love and connection.
Right.
That's all we want, right? Like literally deep love and connection right here.
Right.
That's it. Love
Mm-hmm.
is all. Love is it. Love is it. And some people have an interesting way and behavior of going after that, negative
Right.
or positive. So when we can at least unlock that, then that's when we can move forward.
Indeed, indeed. And as we are closing and letting you go, because we'll continue here, what would you say to the women listening who feel stuck in guilt, afraid? What would you say to that woman?
Absolutely. I would say first, know that it is not you per se. It is potential energy that was passed down to us through generations.
Right.
And so when we can know that that's not truly ours to carry, and we have a choice of giving that SHIT back, right, or transmuting it into another 5th dimension, another form of light, then we can move on. It's literally getting rid of the baggage that was not ours to ever carry in the first place. And there's so many ways that we can go back. And to me personally, and I think scientifically, we are cracking a code of how it all started in the womb, whether it be abandonment, whether it be sadness, trauma, anxiety, that all came from the womb when we were being magnificently, miraculously being built and then
Right.
this world.
Definitely a lot of things transfer through the bloodline, and it goes as far as we can go. Just like the Bible says, certain curses are cursed all the way into the 4th or 6th generation. So things do linger, and whatever someone did not take care of, it continues into the child. And
Mm-hmm.
so Courtney has to leave, so she can't continue on here. But we'll continue as we talk about these generational pains and hurts that are transferred. Okay, these are transferred, spiritually transferred through the bloodline, just like you get sickness that are hereditary that transfer to the bloodline. We also have spiritual things that are transferred through the bloodline. And we need to be the ones to say, you know what, it stops here. It will not continue with me. This ends now, so it does not continue into the next generation. We see the symbol of Bruce Lee, what he went through, his son went through. It was a cycle that was never dealt with starting from the beginning, and it trickled down that they dealt with that in a spiritual level. So I really want to thank you, Courtney, for being here on Emerge and Empower today. And we will have her information in the bio as to how you can connect with Courtney, and you can reach out to her if you find her relatable and her story is relatable. So that way you'll continue that connection with Courtney on today. Courtney, thank you for being on the set, and thanks for having you here. Until next time.
Thank you. I look forward to
Oh,
round
all
2.
right. Yes, thank you. And bye-bye. The journey started basically from I was 4 years old. When my mom, that's the age that I knew or had understanding of my surroundings and what was going on, and my mom therefore was with the children. And that's when I realized I didn't have my father. You don't know what you don't have until you realize what is in front of you isn't yours. And we were treated literally like stepchildren, you understand? But I thank God for the book and the journey. If you haven't read book 1, you have to read book 1 for book 2 to make sense, because it's a flow and it's a sequence, and there will be a book 3 thereafter. I was trying to summarize it all and put it in the second book, but it didn't make sense. The book that's publishing basically talks about once I now got married, have a life, what I still went through. Alright? It was not a Cinderella story, it was not a Prince Charming story. It was a cycle that kept going, and I had to wake up from it. So I live to tell the story because I could be like the women that are on the side of the road. You see people that are out there prostituting or doing whatever. You don't know their story. No little girl got up and just said, okay, I want to be a prostitute. I want to just be on the street. I want to sell drugs. Nobody wakes up to one thing to do next thing. It is the experiences that people have that causes certain things to end up happening. So as a Christian, first of all, you must be forgiving to people. So something happens. Sometimes I'm watching a lot of an African movie, the young lady that was her only way to be able to help her family. That was the route that she could take. Alright? So these journeys are hard. I was suicidal until I was 28 years old. And that's when I forgive myself. Everybody here, you have to want to live. If you are sick, you have to want to be well. So that's basically the journey. I'm growing. Now I turn my feet into purpose. I created We Walk platform. Come on, come and get together. An excuse to go to brunch. An excuse to do lunch. An excuse to do dinner. That's my journey. So I thank each and every one of you for believing, for coming out here, to be here. I'm part of this society. So I thank you too because everybody responded to my promotion for the ebook that made us bestseller on Amazon. I hope it's next to TJ's book. Amen. So even if it was momentarily, I made it there. Amen. Even if it was for a moment, I made it there, and God can and will continue to do the rest. We did it. Amen. Amen. We did it. We thank everyone that was watching, and Courtney Cote that was on here as she was talking about higher power, energy, and the emotional layers that women carry, women and men carry. While her language reflect her journey, I know for me that higher power is God, the true healer, the designer of all things, okay? The one who breaks the chains that bound for generations, okay? So today, as I'm thinking about this weight, okay, the trauma that isn't yours, it's not your shame, it never belonged to you, okay? And the silence passed down as a legacy. I'm giving you permission today to get rid of that dead weight. It is not yours to carry. All right. We say it all the time as Christians, lay it at the cross and leave it there. All right. All right. That was not yours to carry. Let it go so it doesn't weigh down further on the generations to come. All right. Trauma that is passed on for generations. We need to move beyond this. We need to break the cycle. We need to stop it, cut it right into the root of where it is, because generational trauma is deep. It has so many layers into it. You have to go back to generations. All right. When you read the Bible and understand that the first murder was done by Cain, right? But when you go through the layers, because everything started in Genesis, but it continued in Cain's lineage of killing people. Okay. His son killed, his son's son killed a man. He said, I killed a man. This one killed a man. It transferred. All right. It transferred into his generation. That is a spiritual transfer. All right. That continued through the generations. All right. So these are the things that we need to be aware of and break the generational curse in our bloodline. There are those who were never meant to get married. They can't get married. They have a spiritual husband, spiritual wives that does not allow them, permit them to get married. But this is, again, something that was transferred through the generation, spiritual transfer. All right. It's a very silent killer in families. The spiritual generational curse that lingers and follows. All right. So we really need to address these. Identify what's in your lineage, not just physically, but spiritually. And it might sound cliche, but you got to take it to the cross. You got to take it to Jesus. Okay? I'm putting my pastor hat on right now. Take it to the cross and leave it there. Take it there. He said, well, the song says, what can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Okay? I had to flip my pastor hat on, but it's true. All right. You can go before mental health coaches, psychiatrists, praying at church, but you have to go deep. You have to truly go deep into yourself to address the healing. All right. So when you're a woman of faith, there's often a tension. How do I reconcile what I've inherited? What does God say? Who does God say I am? Who does God say I am? Here's a few questions here. Take a moment and think about this question. Have you ever felt like you are breaking rules just by telling your story? Just by telling your story. Have you ever felt guilt for healing while others in your family stay bound? While they stay bound? Or here's another question. Whether what you're carrying is even yours to begin with. You ever ask yourself that? Like, wait a minute, why am I dealing with this? Who opened up this door? Have you asked yourself these questions? You breaking a cycle while others decide to stay trapped, and you feel guilty because you break free, or they make you feel like you think you're better than them because you've broken a cycle you've come away from, to the point you may even get alienated by family and loved ones because some people are babying or pacifying or have become to accept it is what it is. Don't we say that all the time? It is what it is. So we hold on to it is what it is. And it continues. We need to break it. We need to break it. I, for one, identified at 9 years old that the generational curse that transferred in the women in my bloodline they were never the married woman. They were always the other woman. 4 generations before me, as far as I could go, they were the other woman. They were never the married wife. They were never the woman who got the ring. And they all died young, all under their 40s. So at 9 years old, as the pastor was preaching, he was talking about identify what's in your bloodline, in your generation. I had to go and ask questions. I had to have my mom think, like, what's there? I had to probe before she can come to that result. So I had to come to the question and ask, what about my grandmother? Was she married? No. Her mother? No. And I realized, here it is. Here is my mom, 4th generation. She was offered the ring many times, but for some reason, it just didn't happen. And I was like, no, it's got to stop. I say, dear Lord Jesus, it's got to stop. You are my higher power. You are my energy that I go to. It has to stop. And it stops with me. Is that I had to break this cycle. And at 9 years old, I said a prayer. 9 years old, I said a prayer. And I said, Father, break this cycle off of my life. Set me free. Set my generations free from this bondage, from this stronghold. Deliver me. Innocently prayed. I didn't have to do no sabbatical. I didn't have to do no deep diving. I didn't have to sit behind no specialists. I said the prayer to God, who is the designer. And he heard my prayer. And he answered my prayer. Literally 9 years later. Because 9 plus 9 is what? 18. By 13, my husband came into my life. I thought he was just going to be a friend. But I did have a dream at 12 years old that he came and said to me, I want to marry you. And I'm like, I'm a kid. I'm too young. Like, I didn't answer him the first time. I didn't answer him the second time. The third time, here's what I said to him in the dream. I've never met him before. I said, I'm still in school. You will have to wait. At that time, I was in an island called Abaco because I'm from the Bahamas. I was on vacation, my very first vacation, me and my sister. We were gone for 2 months. The whole time that I had left, he came from Bimini, which is another island in the Bahamas, closest here to Florida. He was at my church. So while I'm having this dream, he's already physically at my church. I didn't know it. And when I got there that night, he was the one praying. I'm like, this guy looks familiar. He sounds familiar. But it didn't dawn on me right away. It wasn't until that Sunday when I could see his face clearly. And I was like, wow, this is the guy that I dreamed about. But I didn't say anything to him. A few months later, he comes and he befriends me and he's talking to me. And, I've always had friends. I'm a part of the youth. I'm in youth leadership. So I was made friends with new people that came to church and all of that. It was the norm. And he said the question of saying he was interested in me. I said, well, you need to go talk to my mom. Well, like I said, 9 years from my 9-year-old prayer, I was married. And God broke that cycle, which is a generational curse and also trauma. Because I told you, these women were always the other woman. They went through the shame. They went through all of this pain. They died young. But God lifted that off of my life. I took it to the cross and I left it there when I prayed at 9. Now I've been married for 32 years. So even if they was said that the curse wasn't broken, maybe I would have been married a year. But the whole thing wasn't even that. The whole thing was, even if I was only married for 1 year, I actually was married, meaning I broke that curse off of my life. Now today, of my 6 children, I have 2 of them are married. And the 2 are married and the 2 that are out of the home. So has God not already done it? Yes, God has done it. So yes, he can break the curse through the generations. We have to let go. Let go and leave it there. Total release. So I don't know what yours is. I don't know if you've even identified it. There's many. That was just one of them that stood out to me. As I grew older, I understood there were more. There were things on my father's side that I had to deal with. So that's why when you pray, you're praying for your mother's side and your father's side. You're not saying it one-sided, because there's 2 people that come together. Okay? And in my environment and journey, not only did these 2 people come together, my mom met 2 other men and she had children with them. So now we have these 3 different bloodlines coming together and trying to come together as far as our understanding, how we talk to each other, our manners, how we behave, how we think. So you have dealing with it. So it's a constant war a constant pull, a constant tug, a constant why you don't understand me. Because we're all dealing with all these mixes that has come in, and these are all different generational transfers. So as I close on today, truly let go. My book She Emergence talks about me emerging, but I didn't truly come away from until I decided and gave myself permission. Let it go, it was not yours. Let go of the hurt, let go of the pain, and of the unforgiveness of my father not being in my life. That was another trauma that opened up other doors into my life and into my childhood. You can find out more of that journey in She Emergence, I Am She. But did it stop there? So I encourage you today, give yourself permission. Release what was never yours and let go of your own pains. Thank you for watching. This has been your host, Dr. Lynn J. with Emerge and Empower. Blessings to each and every one of you. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity. Stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.